So, what's the philosophy behind this bed frame? Well, I wanted to create first a long-lasting, sustainable piece of furniture. Um, I wanted something that was solid enough to last for decades, if not a lifetime. So I wouldn't have to keep buying bed frames. And I wanted something that was sustainable, and wood is sustainable in spite of it being a diminishing resource. If used properly, it can last lifetimes, and if replanted when cut, it will regenerate itself. So that's no problem. The problem is the faulty business practices, unethical business practices that result in deforestation, and there's no replanting. It's just greedy business practices. They need to stop. But anyway, this bed frame, I wanted to make it out of solid wood because I'm sick and tired of particle board and all that cheap crap furniture you can get these days that never lasts. I wanted solid beams, so I used 8 centimeter beams, the same kind you use in roofs. And that's what the basic frame is made of, and that's what the legs are made of, and that's what the middle spanning beam is made of. And then I used smaller beams on which I rested the slats, these thin pieces of wood that you see. These are 2 centimeters thick. Then they're going to really support the mattress. They're going to be the ones supporting the mattress, but they're in turn supported by the thicker beam, which is in turn supported by these really thick, massive beams. And I wanted to bring the skeleton of the bed to the outside. I wanted it to be a simple, modern design, and I think I've got it. At least I think so. And I wanted to sit down and think about how to make this frame all by myself without any sort of inspiration, without drawing on any sources, just to see, what can a guy come up with if he uses his imagination. So I knew the basic principles. I knew where the weight was going to be and how it needed to be distributed, and obviously there are pretty common elements in a bed frame, like the legs. Gotta have legs on a bed frame, or you can just sleep on the mattress on the floor. That's your call, but gotta have legs. Gotta have something that supports the mattress, and then the headrests or the backside is optional, but I chose to put it up there so I could, my wife and I could sit on the bed and lean back against it and watch a movie or something. So yeah, this is all my own design. I came up with how I wanted it to look. I put it together using my own ideas about what sort of screws I wanted and how I wanted to tie it up, all the joints, secure them properly. And this is the end result. The most important thing, at least for me, in a bed frame is not to hit my knees and my shins on the bed frame, which I seem to always find all the sharp corners in a room and bang against them. So I wanted to hide the frame underneath the mattress. And so essentially this is what I've got here. The entire frame is 193 by 203 centimeters, and that works out to the exact size of a king-size mattress, which means the mattress itself, when it's placed on the bed, will rest exactly on the bed frame. It won't go over it, and the bed frame won't come out from under it. And that's great. And particularly if you put a quilt over the mattress or something to cover yourself with, then it'll drape itself over the frame, which means I will not bang my knees against the bed frame. And that was one of the main reasons I wanted to make my own frame. So yeah, you'll notice all the corners are rounded. All of them, like this one particularly, because this is the back corner. This is how you walk here, and you don't want to hit your knee on it. So all of the corners are rounded, all of the lines are rounded. Every single one. For example, I didn't want to have any sharp corners here because you're going to be reaching here underneath the mattress to change the sheets. And so I didn't want to scratch my hands. I didn't want my wife to scratch her hands. That's the reason for that. And again, it's something solid, something that I think will last a lifetime. I think if everybody thought of furniture this way, a lot less wood would get used up in the world. You know, everybody needs to start thinking about timeless design, something that's not tied to a particular period or a particular fad, something that can withstand the years, something you can use and even your children can use if it's maintained properly. You know? It's sort of like heirloom furniture. Maybe I'm thinking ahead too much here, but you know, that's the idea. You don't want to come up with furniture designs that are going to be passé in a few years. You want to come up with something that's going to last. Something that's going to be also maintainable. And what I mean by that is the only really weak part in this bed frame, and that's sort of by design, are these slats here, which I chose to put them in, you know, at 2 centimeters thick. I could have chosen 3 or 4, even 4 centimeter thick slats, and that way, I mean, you'd have never had to change anything on this bed, period, because nothing would have broken down. But I did want something a little more flexible underneath the mattress. So I chose these slats, and they flex. You see, they flex underneath the hand, and they can, for the most part, support, a single one of them can support at this length the weight of a human body, like mine, for example. I'm at something like 155 pounds, I don't know, something like that these days. So it can support me. But, you know, who knows? One day I might decide to jump up and down on the bed, and then it won't support me anymore. And some of them may break. But that's okay, because, you know, they're individual pieces. I can just unscrew them and, you know, cut a new one to size, sand it down, and put it back in. So that's not a big deal. That's really the only part that can break down, the only part that needs maintenance on this bed. I mean, sure, once in a while you might need to tighten these, like every few years you might need to check them, make sure that the bed frame is tight or anything like that. But other than that, this frame is good to go. It's easily maintainable, and it should last a long time. This is the bed frame. It's finished, all sanded down, and I'm about to treat it with the black wood wax. So it's going to look very different after this. Very different. I hope I'm not going to regret the decision. But yeah, this is it. This is the big moment of truth when we start to paint it black. So here's the finished bed frame. We've been sleeping on it for about 9 months now. Yeah, we finished it, or rather I finished it in July of last year, in 2009. It's now April of 2010. So this is pretty much what it looks on a day-to-day basis. The headboards right there, of course, the ones that I mentioned in the video previously, and the feet. And like I said, I wanted the mattress to fit exactly on the bed frame, you see? And that way when the quilt is draped over it, there are no sharp edges to knock your legs onto. So this is great, you know, when you can't find the bed in the middle of the night and you're really sleepy, you don't run the risk of knocking your shins on the wood. So I'm glad that I addressed that issue. And it's very sturdy. There's no creaking whatsoever. There's no rocking. There's no sounds whatsoever coming from the frame. It's very stable, and it's very restful as well. So yeah, this is what it looks like. I'm very happy with the way it came out, and yeah, I'm really glad that I took the time to build it. It's worked out well.